Hey guys, and welcome back to another week of Weekly Coldplay. My name is Monica.
And my name is Daniel.
And we are a weekly podcast all about...
You guessed it.
Pesto the Penguin.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about how cute he is
the
whole time.
Melbourne's finest.
Yeah, literally the cutest person in Melbourne.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
There's no one else
Johnny.
important. There's no one else important in Melbourne at all.
Just Pesto.
Yeah, anyway. So, I think he grew a little bit. We just keep talking about him. All right. So, what we're actually going to talk about, it's a little bit podcast-ception here, because we're talking about another podcast. Debs Wild, she did an interview with the Human Podcast. So, we will be talking about that.
And we'll be linking to the episode. It was
Yeah.
very enjoyable.
Yeah.
No hate to the Zane Lowe interview. I also really enjoyed the Zane Lowe interview, but I was a lot more engaged during Debs Wild's interview.
I liked both. I liked both
a lot. I think I found Debs Wild more interesting. Which our section on it will be longer than the Zane Lowe because my notes was like almost twice as long about Debs Wild's interview.
And then we also have other news. And then back this week, we have tour news.
Oh my goodness.
Actual tour updates.
Hooray.
Coldplay are back on tour. At least most of them are.
They all are. They all are now, as of recording.
More on that later. But also, we have a correction from last week.
It's my bad.
So, last week we said that the book that Chris was talking about in the Zane Lowe interview, we thought that it was The Other by Tom Tryon. Made a whole song out of his name, but it was just Fix You. But turns out it was Chris was talking about The Other by Ryszard Kapuscinski.
Kapuscinski. I don't know.
He's a Polish author.
My last name's literally Polish. I still can't pronounce that. No, but yeah, that's my bad. In my notes, I just wrote down The Other because the name was so long. I couldn't write it while I was trying to keep track of what was going on. And then later I looked at my notes. I was like, oh, The Other. Let me Google it to find the name of the author.
and that's the first one.
And the first one's the Tom Tryon one because it's a popular novel.
Yeah, because we went to Barnes & Noble, and then I was like, hey, do you have this book by Tom Tryon? And then when they took us to the horror section, I was like, this is not right. This is incorrect. And that's when we found out, which is fine. Anyway, so we're gonna get right into the Debs Wild interview. Again, sorry if you could hear the rain and stuff. It's raining pretty. I guess it is. It's raining pretty hard here. It has been raining all weekend. Didn't rain on my birthday though. Hey, I turned 30.
Oh yeah, she turned 30.
Yay!
Chapman came to visit just for her birthday. Mm-hmm. We got matching Coldplay tattoos.
Well, more on that later. That's other news.
Oh, okay. I didn't put it in, but
well,
remember.
I mean, yeah, it's on our bodies, so I'm pretty sure it'll be easy to remember. Anyway, so the Debs interview was really, really good. It was on the Human Podcast. Again, we're gonna link it down below, but let's just get right into it.
First off, Debs told the story about discovering Coldplay, and she started by saying, you might think you know this story. Chris tells a better story, but here's the true one, which is so Chris core.
Yeah.
In 1998, Debs was working for Warner Records as a scout, and she had a list of 52 bands that she was supposed to see at this one music festival, and she saw the Coldplay, and she'd never heard of them. She's like, well, I guess I better go listen to them since I have no clue who they are. And she got there a song into the set and remembers it being very, very quiet. She could hear a pin drop. Mm-hmm. But she was very moved by the feel and the ambiance. She ended up staying for the rest of their set. Everyone was in the back near the bar, and she kept seeing people leave, but she stood right up by the front in the spot by the stage. No one else was there. Mm-hmm. She stayed for the whole set. She didn't hear any hits yet, but just the overall feel of their music she really loved. Probably it was songs from the Safety EP, maybe Ode to Deodorant. She doesn't remember because she didn't have any context for them at the time. She remembers grabbing a little business card on the way out. And she saw some more of their concerts over the next few weeks or months or so. Saw a lot of people walking out.
Yeah.
She says probably because they looked dreadful and Chris talked too much.
So there's no difference there. I'm kidding.
Now they have hits.
Yeah. Now, which, by the way, the songs that she was describing that was going to be played, that were probably played at the time was "No More Keeping My Feet on the Ground," "Panic," which was the original name of "Don't Panic." Brothers and Sisters, Bigger Stronger,
Ode to Deodorant.
Yeah, of course, and the biggest hit of all is Ode to Deodorant, which I love that song. I know I meme on it all the time. That song is so good, even though it is about deodorant and aerosol. I
don't listen to it enough. I feel like it's been months since I've listened to it.
I love that song, especially like the end of the song. It's like, it's okay, would I ever let you down the way.
Okay, we need to listen to it after recording this.
I'm obsessed with that song.
She also said their vibe moved her and made the hairs on her arms stand on end.
Yeah, which is what she usually tries to like look for in a band. So even if if she was going off like a list of criteria of what they should have been meeting.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Professional performance. Has hit songs.
Exactly. None of that. 0. But there was still something about them that kind of caught her eye. She said that I loved them, and if I loved them, surely someone else would love them too. So, usually if she likes a band enough to sign, she stays in touch with the band, and she also stays a fan. And, lucky enough, she was like, hey, we should definitely sign this band. And her boss was like, no.
Absolutely not.
They're too dreadful, and Chris talks too much.
Oh, and there's a song about deodorant.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what is this band?
Weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Exactly. So that happened. So she wasn't able to sign the band, but she introduced them to their lawyer, who introduced them to Simon Williams and Steve Lamacq, who first played them on the radio. And then she introduced them to Caroline, who published them, and Caroline showed them to Daniel Keeling, who signed them. So it was like this big domino effect. She mentions that it was like one big domino effect of, just like, even though she wasn't able to sign them, it still happened anyway. It just shows that, like, and anything can happen. It doesn't just end there. Like, there's a whole possibilities of, doors that could just happen for you, even if you don't see it presented to you immediately,
Yeah, which I feel like I got out of a lot of the stories in this interview, to be honest.
But also, it turns out Daniel Keeling had already heard their second demo, which was Ode to Deodorant, and passed on them. But then, which, fair enough, even though, that song is a bop, and I could never understand, but passed on them, but then heard Safety EP and just absolutely loved it. So, again, don't judge a book by its first deodorant, I think.
By its first? You mean its second deodorant?
Oh, that was the first time he heard it, though.
Oh, okay, yeah. Don't judge a book by its first deodorant.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. It's like, that trend where, like, it's like, oh, I had these kids fill in, like, the common idioms. Like, it'll say, don't judge a book, and then have a blank, and then, like, kindergartners will have to fill it in.
Yes. So it's that, 100%, that's what I'm going for.
Debs ended up leaving her job in big part because she was very frustrated that her boss hadn't allowed her to sign Coldplay, which then, they got big, and then she felt like she'd missed this opportunity to work with them and to be a part of that. And she ended up working for a little bit with a managing company who had her approach the band with an offer to co-manage, but Phil was like, no, I think I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go.
Look at him now.
Look at him now. And then she was, like, bouncing between jobs, having a bit of a meltdown, as she described it, really beating herself up over the fact that she'd missed out on this big chance and that things weren't working out how she wanted them to in her life. And then in 2001, Phil visited her at her apartment and asked her to come work for them. Not exclusively. For a while, she was working with a lot of other companies as well and holding other jobs. But she started working. They had an unofficial fan club that they weren't even sure if they were going to keep up. But she started working with them with their newsletter, and then that moved into an e-zine, and then their website, and then social media got big, so obviously you had to manage their MySpace. And then, in her words, I've just been part of the furniture since.
You know what's really funny? Whenever she mentioned MySpace, that reminded me of like one of the last like MySpace updates that I had was Coldplay was in my top 8 friends. Like I put it because you can edit anyone into your top 8 friends. So it was like Iron Man, Coldplay, whatever else, and I think people I actually knew, which is so me.
Yes, yeah.
That's all.
Who would be your top 8 friends now, Monica?
Iron Man, Coldplay, Hugh Jackman, you, Victoria. Chris Martin, Johnny Buckland, World Champion Guy Berryman.
I was waiting for
Will
like
Harvey.
Hyde. No.
No.
Just Coldplay again.
Yeah, just Coldplay again.
Man, not even Florence Pugh.
Yeah, wait, Wolverine would be there. If I have Iron Man, Tony Stark. And then Hugh Jackman, Robert Downey Jr.
So me and Victoria are getting bumped.
Yeah, like Robert Downey Jr. was definitely up top if he did have a MySpace then. Anyway, knowing about 2008 Monica, 13-year-old Monica.
She's just like 30-year-old Monica.
Yeah.
It's 13 going up 30. 30, flirty, and
Thriving.
She's now their fan. They call her the fan liaison. She also does archives. She does a lot of other things, like the captions on their YouTube videos, and a lot of things that people don't really know she does behind the scenes. And when she was asked about how the band have changed since she first met them, she said, "Not really much at all. They're pretty much the same people. Like, they're in a very different circumstance in life, but they've stayed the same," which I think is really special.
Yeah, that's very sweet. I'm just like them for real.
Yeah, I'm not like them at all. I don't resemble my past self. But she also said Chris is still one of the funniest people she's ever met. Like, stomach hurts laughing funny.
Yeah.
She said Chris tends to find good in every artist.
Yeah, because Debs usually tries to like, criticize a little bit because that's what she grew up kind of doing, literally. Was scouting and judging bands, see what their strong parts are and what their weakest parts are. But Chris always just like, no, hey, I like this, and this about this band. Go listen to them again, and then that usually changes her mind about said band. So Chris always finds the good, really, in everything, and that's just so Chris core. And also their kindness and friendship has helped their success. And Debs also, as being like kind of like a fan liaison and just being a fan herself, Debs chooses one song every show. It's a different song every time. To watch reactions from the crowd. So, she sees people, laughing, crying, singing along, and just truly enjoying themselves, which is, honestly, that's like one of my favorite parts of doing, because like I do that during Viva.
I did that during Viva at the Brooklyn show.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to our last couple episodes, I went to my first Coldplay show. Mm-hmm. And then during Viva, I took like a bit of the song to pull my eyes away from Will Champion and turn around because I was at the front of the crowd and just watch the energy in the whole. Yeah. Also during A Sky Full of Stars, it felt so magical, and I started crying.
Yeah. I get that too. And I did the same thing whenever I was like a little bit further in the back, towards C stage whenever I was at the first Philippines show. And because of that, I got like a better angle at like the entire crowd, especially during Viva. And it just and if you've seen videos or if you went to the Philippines show and you saw how large the Philippine arena is, because like it's not very big, I guess, like floor wise, but like it goes up. It's like it's very high. Okay, you cannot see my hands are going up, but it's very, very tall. Like the seats go up to touch God, basically. And just seeing everyone, even like at the very tip back top of the stadium, everyone was just putting all of their energy into the show. And it's just, I mean, I get emotional every time I see it. But, you know, to Debs, they're just these 4 guys. To everyone else, they're this big boom-busting...
Except to you, they're just these 4 guys.
Yeah. Also, to me, yeah. I mean, it's weird because, like, I get where she's at. Because also, you know, part of me is just like, you know, this is my favorite band. And, you know, I do put them slightly on a pedestal. But also, like, in my mind is like, I know that they're just these 4 dudes that just walk around and,
I think they're your favorite band because they're just these 4 guys.
Yeah.
That seems to be, like, a recurring theme with you liking celebrities.
Yeah.
Is, like, when you can, like, latch onto their humanity, that is when you really love them. Like, Hugh Jackman's just some silly Australian guy who likes to sing and dance.
He's just really pretty to look at.
Okay, settle down.
Anyway, I'm twirling my hair. You can see what I'm twirling my hair.
Literally 13. I'm the adult here.
Yeah.
She was asked about how she ended up becoming a scout in the first place, and she talked about how in her childhood she was always obsessed with pop music. Her family had like a lot of vinyl records, and she would steal her brother's records when he wasn't around, even though he had very bad taste. And every week, this is very like us about Coldplay behavior.
Yeah.
Every week she had a little journal and a silver pen, and she would write down the top 40 chart as it came out, and make notes about which songs moved up how much and which ones moved down and which ones were staying still.
Yeah.
She, like, put so much energy and focus into music. And for a while, she didn't even realize that could be a career. She went into working with kids. She spent a little bit doing that, and then she started to realize that that just wasn't going to be the right path for her. So she put in her notice, and she quit, and she decided she was going to work in the music industry. She just decided, and she did research about what goes into working in the music industry, and then just went around knocking on doors asking for jobs until she got one. Just like Chris about Coldplay, like when you look back at that like very first video of really curly haired Chris,
Yes, yeah, with the braces on.
the one of him saying like, oh, by this year we're gonna
Yeah, he's got braces, and, you know, he's, like, real,
he looks
like...
dreadful, and he talks too much.
Exactly. Dreadful, but also really energetic and spunky. It's a strange combination.
Dreadful, energetic, and spunky.
Yeah.
Chris, if you're listening. But just like how Chris had always felt about the band and their potential, she had an unshakable belief that this was going to work out and this would happen. She just knew it.
Mm-hmm.
This was her plan A. She didn't have like a plan B. She just knew this was going to work. She was actually surprised after she spent one day walking around that she didn't have a job yet. But after a little bit, people started calling and saying like, hey, well, can you come fill in for this person who's sick? Can you come work on this? And within 3 days, she had a job, and that's how she got into the industry. Which to me feels like a wild way. Like, this cannot be normal. This cannot be a normal way for anyone to get into the music industry.
I mean, I feel, because, like, that was, like, a very common thing, I feel like, to do, you know, I hate to say back then, but it truly was, back then before social media. Yeah, exactly.
Of everything has changed.
Yeah,
Music industry, film industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All creative stuff is so different now.
Yeah, because I'll tell you this little story about this very famous screenwriter and showrunner who I also happen to know. He's my friend, Brian Fuller. He created Pushing Daisies and Hannibal and all that. And he, way back when, he would just go onto the Paramount lot, and then he would have spec scripts. He would have scripts that he would just slide under the doors of all the writers and producers there, and then eventually they just gave him a call and, okay, come write for Star Trek. So, you know, it was literally a time where you could just go knock on doors and slide, scripts under, people's doors and just easily, I wouldn't say easily find a job, but, it was...
It was possible.
Yes.
And now it's not.
Yeah. It's so cutthroat, I feel like.
It's not even just that it's cutthroat, but also, like, industries don't want to invest in writers anymore, period.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like, they'll get together, like, writers' rooms and then cancel shows.
Yeah.
And the whole climate of the creative world leaves me feeling so hopeless sometimes right now.
I know. Yeah, same. Even though I really want to be a screenwriter too, but
you're gonna be a screenwriter.
Yeah. But and that's like another thing, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in other notes. But like, Coldplay, as far as the band themselves, and especially Chris, they really like to highlight smaller artists and like, hey, I'm gonna call you day of, come on stage and fill in for We Pray, or they just love listening to music. Chris, at the core of his soul, is just a music lover, and so is Debs. So and I think that's why they really mesh together and really blend together. Also, fan liaison is an umbrella term for all the things Debs does for Coldplay. Everything she does is linked back to the fans. Most of the messages that she reads, she gets like emails and tweets and everything. She gets a bunch of messages from fans that are unfortunately really heartbreaking, and it's really hard for her because, she can't help everyone, and it's a very hard part of the job because, she really wants to like reach out and, give this person this and, have this person meet the band and, just do all these things for all these people, but she can't, unfortunately, and that's, I can't even imagine that either, like living that, doing that part of the job. But she also gets very heartfelt messages about how the music of the band, Coldplay's music, mean to so many people, and it's like one of those things where she mentions like she knows, when she reads these messages, it's almost like the people writing in know that this might not reach the band, but it's like very good. I'm about to start crying. It's like very good that like, they just want someone to reach out to and to talk to about the band, which is why we have this podcast. Anyway,
yeah, we made this podcast thinking maybe no one would listen to it.
Yeah. I just really wanted to talk about Coldplay because I really love them. So I just really resonated with that. Oh my god. Anyway. Also for a lot of the contests that Coldplay hold, like the We Pray contest that they held for Australia, New Zealand, and Perth.
That's the word. I know. That's a type of fish, I think, or a bird or something.
anyway, for Perth.
There weren't captions on this podcast.
Yeah, but you should at least know where Perth, Australia is.
I don't know people in Australia you do.
You should, come on now. Anyway, so a lot of that, she's actually the one watching those submissions, watching those videos, and all that. So that's really cool. As well as like a big part of her job, as long as she's been, with the band and working for the band, there's a lot of Coldplay team members who have also worked with the band for a long time that she has never met. There's like this one person that she had just met very recently that had been working for the band for like 15 years, so I just find that just really funny.
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone here at my job that I haven't met yet. Also I work at a small company. I don't work for Coldplay, so that makes a little bit more sense why she hasn't met.
There's the new people we haven't met, but we've at least talked to all of them on the phone.
Most of them, I guess.
I've talked to all of them on the phone.
Well, I don't think I have. Maybe I have. I don't know. But still, I've been here for 10 years, and it's just, there's a lot of people. Well, I guess there is a lot of people that I haven't met yet that are new. Anyway, not the point. But Debs says that she finds the fan connection and community incredible. And that was talking about Coldplay Extra and Coldplaying and all these other huge fan sites, hosting meetups and get-togethers and all that.
And the pen pals, people
Yeah.
who meet at shows, which I found she talks about like people meeting each other at shows and then splitting up, but like being
Yeah.
able to send each other stuff.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of how we just did that.
Yeah, how we went to, the listening party for Moon Music, and then we met someone who helped us with,
Getting to
getting well, I guess encouraging us to go to Brooklyn.
Right, and then we gave out friendship bracelets,
Yes.
and then we made a friend in Brooklyn who was able to then mail us an exclusive thing
Yes.
from New York.
Yeah, exactly that. And then also, I mean, this is something that I've been doing for years and years and years, back in the Tumblr days, where I met some of my closest friends through Coldplay on Tumblr, who literally live across the world and who were at the Australia shows, who were at the Melbourne shows, and we'll be going to the rest of the Australia shows. But, it's just like Coldplay really brings in like the connection of just people, one world even. One big band, might I add.
It really does feel like that.
Yeah.
It feels like no matter what different circumstances we have from someone else, we can like connect through Like there were people that we met in New York who are people I feel like I never would have been able to talk to or make a connection with outside of having the shared context of Coldplay. But then that just brings us together with such different life experiences and perspectives, and then we can automatically bond, and it almost feels like we were already friends just because of this band.
Yeah. Hey, I really like Coldplay.
I'm gonna cry if I think about this anymore, so I'm moving on to the next bit. When she took her childhood best friend, who lives in Dublin, to a Coldplay Extra fan meetup in Dublin, and she was warning her friend ahead of time that, like, hey, by the way, these people all know who I am, and they're gonna be, like, taking pictures of me, and I'll be signing autographs, and her friend found that a little bit funny, and then they walked in, and there was a cake with Debs' name on it, and then a cake for her friend, but they didn't know her friend's name, so it just said Debs' mate. And her friend found that really funny, but then also just even being like an outsider to this community was really moved by the energy and the love in that room and with that group of people coming together, which is how I keep feeling every time I meet other fans. And Debs knows a lot of the fans who like post a lot on social media by first name and knows their stories, and then people are still surprised, like, what, Debs knows who I am?
Yeah.
Which the thought that maybe Debs knows who we are is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Debs, if you're listening to this podcast episode, hi.
We love you.
We do. We love and appreciate everything you do. That's why you get a whole episode.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you're amazing. And yeah, we love you.
Yeah, she thinks it's very cool that she gets to like hang out and meet and talk to the fans. And this was a quote she said, "'Cause I'm a fan, I'm one of them."
Yeah, one of us.
I found that very moving, which is why I wrote it down. I think I paused it there to write that one down.
Yeah, I remember. Phil thinks that if she hadn't discovered them that night, he would have given up on managing Coldplay. Which, again, I'm just glad, like, this big domino effect, it was all just, like, meant to happen.
Yeah. That's how I keep feeling about Coldplay. It feels like, it reminds me a lot of, like, mythology and legend and destiny and fate.
Yeah. Also, if you guys weren't aware, the book Life in Technicolor, which is called Life in Technicolor, Celebration of Coldplay. She wrote that book, I want to say last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember now. But she realized that their story was also the story of her past 20 years, And Chris's dad thanked her for setting in motion the chain of events that led them to having breakfast with Olivia Newton-John. So real with Chris's dad. I love and miss Olivia Newton-John so much. And also a quote from Debs here. And sorry for the cursing, but she said, "I might have been the biggest asshole in the world if I had signed Coldplay." Meaning that, she probably would have been living in a big mansion with, you know, 3 sports cars and, you know, just living that lavish life. But, you know, everything, I guess, also just kind of kept her humble. Not just, like, the band themselves, but, you know, just the entire experience. So
this is one of those other points where she was like, yeah, everything does happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Everything turns out how it was meant to be, even if she couldn't see at the time.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and it took her a long time to get over her imposter syndrome about her role with the band. And she also mentioned that she was a little bit more Roy Kent, but, you know, she needed to be more like Ted, which I don't know what any of that means. I've never seen Ted Lasso. I've only made eye contact with Jason Sudeikis, and that's
Roy
really
Kent
it.
is gruff and angry and mean to people. And then after spending time around Ted, he learns that to be an effective coach, he has to show kindness.
Oh, okay. So I guess in that way, you know, Chris is Ted.
Yes.
And, you know, Chris rubs off on people, is what she said. Debs had book ideas, but she and the band decided that it wasn't the right time yet. But she made a publisher friend and sent him a separate book unrelated to Coldplay, and he and the company had liked it, but it didn't pan out. The friend approached her later, saying his company, Carlton, wanted to make a Coldplay book, but she didn't want to do it but Carlton already said that they were going to do it anyway, so she joined the team so she and the band could have some control over it. So she got the info that, you know, hey, we're going to do it anyway, regardless, it's going to be like this unofficial book, and she was like, okay, great, and then she went to approach Phil and the band and was like, hey, listen, if we want control of this, even though it's unofficial, we can, you know, and I could add in a bunch of stuff that I've gotten over the years in the book. You know, and the band were just all like, okay, you know, we trust you, go ahead and make this book. So, you know, and a big thing about, like, this book is that she felt like, you know, it just wasn't the time yet. You know, because at the time, only A Head Full of Dreams had just come out.
The interesting thing to me about the way she keeps saying it wasn't the time yet is I'm wondering if maybe Debs and the band have known for a little bit this plan of, like, ending after 12 albums, and maybe the time of what she was originally intending to write is after the last album.
Yeah. She was originally going to co-write and mostly just fact-checked, but she had so much content from the band and, you know, over the years, and so much to say, she ended up writing most of the book.
She was like, actually, from now on, I'm going to write most of it, and you can do the chapters on the individual band members.
Yeah. You know, and then from the company themselves, Carlton, they said that, you know, nobody wanted it because it was unofficial. She found out her friend, quote unquote, that's with air quotes, she found out that her friend had tricked her. He'd been the one to pitch the book to the publishing company and promised he'd bring her aboard, even though he knew she didn't want to write the book. Yeah, so that's not good. Yeah. And very, you know, backstabby.
Yeah, they haven't really spoken since
that. Yeah.
And the book ended up not, like, it's been pulled. They didn't really make any money off of it. But I think you can still buy it.
Yeah, it's still up on Amazon.
Anyway, and then when it came out, Chris texted her saying, Debs, you lovely thing. This book is wonderful, which is very sweet. She appreciates when new albums come out, then she doesn't have to worry about listening just with headphones anymore to keep all the new songs secret so her neighbors aren't like, oh, is that a new Coldplay song?
Me.
We should move and live next to Debs.
Is that a new Coldplay song?
Leading up to this album, she'd heard a lot of Moon music with all the archival stuff she'd been working on, but she never got bored of listening to the same songs over and over and over again, and she really enjoyed seeing what songs ended up making the cut and how they evolved over time. I'm so jealous of the fact that Debs has probably heard Original Jupiter. I want to hear it so bad. Please. And she said she can't listen to the song Moon Music without crying. Just
Real.
Like every time she listens to it, she starts crying.
Real.
She listened to it at like a listening party and started crying. She said Coloratra had a child in its Moon Music, the song. She also said Chris really means it this time. She knows he keeps saying they're going to do 2 more and then stop. But
Yeah.
this time it feels like there's a plan with the whole band. It's coming to an end. Not the end, just one end. And she says she feels sad about it because fans are going to feel loss and confusion. But she isn't really worried. She knows she'll still have a place and a job, and she stands by the band's plan and believes there will be a reason, and it's all going to make sense once we get album 12 and then album 11, as Chris put it. And this won't be the end of everything. They're still going to tour. And then she was talking about the special discs she gets when the new albums come out, and she was showing her Parachutes disc, which she called her first disc and then corrected it and said actually it's her second because the first time they spelled her name wrong.
Which I don't know how I could misspell Debs Wild, but...
Deb Wild.
Oh.
Is what I'm guessing.
Well, maybe, yeah.
And then she brought the Milo Xyloto disc to show off because she found it particularly cool what they did for everyone. Where the MX normally goes, they replaced it with everyone's initials, so hers says DW. And that is very cool.
Yeah. And then the last bit, the interviewer had asked her, what does it mean to live a good life? And she responded with, stay true to yourself, do what you want, you only have one life, love with no regrets, regret what you do, not what you don't, and consider other people in your decisions. So I think that's a, very good sentiment to kind of end the podcast on. And lastly, it's just to be a good person is to be good to yourself and to other people.
That's a very Chris Martin sentiment.
Yeah.
I think he has rubbed off on her.
Yeah, and that was the Debs Wild interview on the Human Podcast. Yeah, so now we're just going to get right into other news where we're just going to plow on through this one because we're on very short leash here.
Yeah. To start it off, there was a cute little video from the Kelly Clarkson show of Chris not understanding how the introduction worked, and they were talking about Kelly feels like singing, and he was like, no, you said Kelly, it's about me.
No, on Next Kelly. That's what it said. On next Kelly, we're going to sing. And he was like, oh, what, did you mean to say Kelly? He was like, no, that's the name of the show.
Oh, yeah. No, now it's Next Chris. They changed it just for him.
Also, so we were talking about, how Chris likes to, or, the band themselves, but mostly Chris likes to, kind of uplift and talk to smaller artists. Well, there was the small local artist meetup that Chris had organized, I guess. That's what I gathered from online. And so that's what happened, very exclusive little meetup. And there was a story from Gordy, an artist from Australia, where she had got to meet Chris, and Chris had mentioned that she listened to her music, and Chris also said, hey, does anyone here play the piano? And she raised her hand, and then she went to the piano and then started playing, and she was playing one of her new songs, and then she looked over to Chris, and then Chris was just crying and said that was really beautiful. So yeah, very very Chris core. So yeah, so she made Chris cry.
They released the Moon Music Australian Tour Edition, which is a green vinyl, like the Spotify one, but the middle's a different color.
Yeah, it's gold.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if they have a U.S. Tour Edition,
yeah.
Sure, but, I mean, I'm okay with just my Spotify one. I can live without I have a Cricut now. I could just print out the gold on top.
Yay! This is why I got it for you. Live your truth.
Okay, so on Coldplay's website, there's a super, super cute tote bag that's on there right now. with Chris's drawings of the band minus Phil. That was from the Notebook edition. So that's super cute. Tote bag is in the shop, and that's new and available for pre-order. There's also a new Jupiter shirt that says "I love who I love."
I need that shirt desperately. It's
Yeah.
not just I love who it's underlined, like how he talked about. I need it's so okay. That's all.
And then there's this cute One World shirt, which I really want. And then there's a full moon poster also being sold. So those are 4 new items in the Coldplay shop, available now on coldplay.com/shop.
Or store.
Actually, or store. Yes,
one of those.
Store. Store is correct.
You can figure it out.
yeah. Just Google Coldplay store. You'll figure it. Yeah, you'll find it. Yeah.
They put out a special bracelet called a cord. It's made with guitar strings that have been used by Chris, and the colors are based on the color scheme of Moon Music, and all of the profits are donated to the ocean cleanup. It's like $100, but I really want one because if you've met me at a show, I guess people have met me at shows now.
Yeah.
But if you've met me, you know I collect bracelets. My arms are covered in them.
Yeah.
And so I would really love this one day. And by one day, I mean like in a few paychecks.
Big news is that the special guest for the Soul shows in April is going to be Twice, the K-pop group Twice. That is huge news. They're a massive band. I know one person who's really stoked about it. Who I messaged him about it because I know that he's a big Twice fan. And then he messaged me back and was like, "So are all the shows sold out?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. Sorry, you can't get there." But yeah.
Hey, Monica, how many times have Coldplay partnered with a K-pop group?
Twice now. Anyway.
The Brothers and Sisters 25th Anniversary Limited Edition vinyl, the double-sided 7-inch, will be released 2 weeks later than originally planned due to an unforeseen manufacturing delay. But it is worth the wait because it is a piece of history. Mm-hmm. Also, along with it, there was a completely unrelated video that got posted in the same post of Chris making a video for South by Southwest, saying he was honoring someone. He wasn't entirely sure who was being honored by who, but he honors all of them. Yeah, that's all. It was really goofy.
Big news, physical copies of Full Moon and the Moon Music Tour CDs are on sale at the merch stand in Melbourne. So hopefully there's going to be some that come to the US if you missed out, like this guy over here.
I really want the Full Moon edition CD, so yeah. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I will get one on tour. Coldplay also won Best International Group at the NRJ Music Awards. That's their 6th prize from that ceremony and their 3rd in the 2020s.
Yeah, and they had posted a cute little thank you video where Will was mostly talking.
And they said merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
There you go. And that's the news.
That's the news.
All right, tour news. Again, there is a lot to get through. So on before the first show on October 29th, Paradise, The Scientist, Something Just Like This, Breakaway, and Good Feelings were all sound checked. And merch tables were set out a day early with the new merch that we had just mentioned. Well, it was the Jupiter shirt as well as a new shirt that had like the Moon Music band photo on it. And then there are 2 Melbourne shirts. There was one that's like the standard tour show shirt that they've been doing for all the shows. But then there's a new version of it where it said Coldplay on the front, but on the back it had the moon. It said Music of the Spheres on top, and then at the bottom it said Melbourne with the shows. It looks really cool. I really, really want that one if they do that shirt in the US. Please, 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 please. Yeah.
And then night 1, they soundchecked Human Heart, We Pray, and Beautiful together with Fix You. And they did a little video of Chris during soundcheck playing the Neighbours theme song, which that's a popular show that's filmed in Melbourne. And Will's drum drawing was of coffee.
Yeah, because they're jet lagged.
Coldplay posted that their solar powers are in use, helping to power C Stage. And then Chris came out during the pre-show and announced that Guy was vomited in the back, very, very sick, was not going to play. Someone would take his place with an alien head to quote-unquote play his parts. He said, "You will hear Guy, but you won't see him." They had a very standard set list. It said V2 at the top, though, so it is possible that it was, like, really unchanged because Guy was not there. Yeah.
Songbook was Everglow. Boo. Rotational was Charlie Brown. Yay! Human Heart was just Donk and Angel Moon, so there was no Chris, so we're pretty sure that Angel Moon and Chris had a fight. And then during C Stage, they revealed that Bill Rocco, who is a longtime Coldplay producer, friend of theirs, filled in for Guy with 30 minutes of notice. And on C Stage, Will Champion played the bass during Sparks.
Oh my God, I love him.
And during that, Chris was just like, "Oh, well, we don't really need Guy. We don't really need him anyway."
Okay, tell that to tomorrow, Chris. We'll get there in a second.
Yeah. And so that was about Will covering for Guy on C Stage during Sparks. Also on C Stage, on the screens, there was an overlay of Shane Warne, where Chris and the band paid tribute to the late Australian cricketer and longtime friend of Chris's. And Chris was, like, really emotional about that. And then Angel Moon sang Somewhat Beautiful while the beginning of Fix You played. Which is pretty interesting. If you haven't heard it, it's an interesting kind of intro, but I kind of like it. Australian a cappella group, Pitch Face, joined the band on stage during Good Feelings. And then All My Love, which originally was supposed to be the closer, but obviously that scrapped due to, I think, just like, with the knowledge of Guy not being there. Also, after the show, Coldplay posted a photo with the caption that it was the first time in the band's history without all 4 members on stage. So, yeah.
That's really sad.
I know, but also surprising.
I know, that's a long streak.
Yes, yeah.
All right, then night 2. First, leading up, Coldplay posted a poster of the Karate Kid with the caption, "If you're coming to the Melbourne show today, you might want to watch the original Karate Kid beforehand."
Yeah.
And then Ralph Macchio was spotted outside the stadium filming for the Karate Kid music video. And then All My Love was sound-checked with Guy.
He was there.
He recovered from his local sunny egg.
And uncooked bacon.
And then during The Scientists, Chris was talking about how, A, the show was sponsored by Tim Tams, and B, Guy was back, and you should not eat bacon and eggs that aren't cooked all the way, a lesson Monica did not learn yesterday.
Yeah. Hey, I was fine. So really, I could have gone on stage and filled in for Guy. Really.
I'm surprised with all your normal tummy issues.
I don't have a lot of tummy issues.
That's true. Not the most out of anyone I know.
Yeah.
But you have more than most people I know.
I think I'm just lactose intolerant, and I just drink milk.
Yeah, yes.
Also, big news, everybody. Okay, All My Love was played after Yellow, which is what was on my set list prediction last week. I am Nostradamus. It is now,
You need to know what just went through my head, because I read that sentence right before you picked up the phone, and I was like, Nostradamus? Isn't that a vampire? And then I was like, no, that's
Nosferatu. Oh my God. Anyway, the songbook was Everglow again, but this time it was actually a tribute to someone's dad who had just passed away. So, it was a really sweet tribute if you haven't seen the video. And then the rotational, God put a smile upon your face.
Hell
She's
yeah,
back.
Let's go.
Yeah. And then after A Sky Full of Stars, instead of heading to C Stage, they played the Karate Kid movie trailer, and then they filmed the music video on B Stage for the Karate Kid. And Chris pretended like he couldn't sing. He was like,
That is what he sounded like.
and there's like, oh, I can't sing. and
You could have filled in for Chris
exactly,
instead of Ralph.
Exactly. And then Ralph Macchio was just like, hey, I could sing with his like little sign, and then
Let me help.
Yeah, and then he lip sang to the Karate Kid, and it was so cute.
Which in the plot of this music video means that Ralph Macchio just has Chris's singing voice, which is a little uncanny. My friend and their mom, they're obsessed with the Karate Kid, and I was telling them about this, and they were like, yeah, if you told me Coldplay did a music video with Ralph Macchio, I wouldn't be able to name any element of the music video you just described, but that is the exact vibe I would have expected from it. On stage, they had Shane Warne's jersey near Will's drum kit, and Coldplay posted a TikTok shouting out to the apartment that was syncing up their lights to the Xylo band, which literally is Monica.
Yeah. If I had, when my apartment in Australia, that's right above Marvel Stadium. Yeah, that was actually me. That was secretly me this entire time. I've been flying back and forth.
That's a long commute.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. No, actually, it's like Beam Me Up, Scotty. It's like Star Trek. I just
teleport.
Yeah, I just teleport.
Pania posted that they got a last-minute call to fill in during the We Pray spot, and then they did.
Yeah. It was like they wrote that song like day of, or wrote the verse the day of.
Which, that keeps happening.
Yeah. And then Melbourne, night 3 and 4, pretty standard. For night 3, it was Songbook, was Magic, Rotational, God Put a Smile Upon Your Face. And then Melbourne, night 4, it was Songbook, Everglow, Not So Rotational, God Put a Smile Upon Your Face.
3 out of 4 Everglow, not good. Come on, Coldplay, you can do better. Also, so even when Guy was back, the set list still didn't really change that much.
Yeah, again, the big things are, Beautiful being back, quote unquote, being back and Fix You, All My Love, not being the closer, and then, that's really it.
Yeah, and so, other than really All My Love, there's, no new mood music songs in the set list.
Yeah, but hopefully Sydney,
I think maybe also because of Australia was, an existing part of the already tour. Maybe some of these new tour dates they just announced will be more different.
Yeah, maybe,
part 2 to the tour.
Yeah, maybe next year we're going to see stuff.
Yeah, especially when they're going, they haven't taken this tour to Australia before.
Yes, they have.
The Music of the Sphere tour? Oh, never mind then. I don't know what I'm talking about. Yeah, then I don't know.
Yeah, that was last year.
Well, maybe they'll change things one of these days. All right, now is the part of the show where, because we don't have a sponsor, we don't make any money off of this show, instead we highlight a charity every month. And it's a new month, that means a new charity. And this month we are highlighting the Sudan Relief Fund. You can find them at sdnrlf.com. The Sudan Relief Fund is a nonprofit dedicated to bringing food, safe drinking water, clothing, shelter, medical attention, and hope to the people of South Sudan and the Nuba Mountains of Sudan. Their mission is to provide peace and hope for the future by alleviating dire humanitarian concerns and aiding in the development of infrastructure necessary for growth and stability in the world's youngest nation. Which, if you didn't know, South Sudan's independence was only recognized in 2011, and they were in the middle of civil war from 2013 until 2018. So they are the world's youngest nation, and there are a wide breadth of humanitarian crises. They just had an attempted genocide. And so, check out Sudan Relief. In the next few weeks, I'll talk about some more about what the current situation is like in South Sudan and also the various ways that Sudan Relief helps and that you can help.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Daniel. And definitely check them out. It was
sdnrlf.com. We'll have that link in our description.
Yes, we will. All right, and that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode this week. Obviously, no spoilers or speculation because there's something to talk about anymore since Moon Music is out. But yeah, thank you for listening. We hope that you have a good day. I hope that you also have a good day, Daniel.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we'll be sharing most of the day.
Yeah. I'll be mostly even that. Anyway, thank you for listening. My name is Monica.
My name is still Daniel.
And we are Weekly Coldplay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Weekly Coldplay. For more Coldplay content from us, check us out on Twitter @Weekly Coldplay and Instagram @weekly.coldplay. That is weekly, Coldplay. And if you like what you hear, give us a follow on wherever you're listening to the podcast on. Thank you again, and we'll be back next week with more Coldplay news.